What's going on, everyone? So Austin Reaves really stood out last year, right? He really evolved into the third option for the Lakers, right? And really shined, especially in that back half of the season when LeBron James went down and then throughout the playoffs. And you can make an argument he was the most consistent guy even in that Denver series, and really looks to continue that this upcoming season. I also think he plays a bigger role. I think he plays a more important role. I think on most nights he's even like the second option, as LeBron I think kind of takes a backseat a little bit. And I also think that LeBron James is gonna miss a couple handful of games. So is Anthony Davis. They probably miss 50 to 60 games collectively. Hopefully not all at once. So in those moments, Austin Reaves will really be able to step up. Reaves was even on like the Nelk Boys podcast and talked about how because they brought up LeBron was really willing to kind of let you thrive, and he was like, that was what's great about LeBron, but LeBron's still gonna get his. And I say that all the time, right? LeBron, he could play. We saw it even last year. He'd have like 4 points at halftime, and then he'd finish the game with 25, and you're like, he really had 21 points in the second half? And it's like, yeah, it's LeBron James. What do you expect? So even if LeBron does kind of coast, Austin Reaves, I still believe, can thrive, and LeBron will still get his 20 plus because it's LeBron James. But big question is, who else steps up? And I don't even necessarily mean in the sense of how massive Austin Reaves did, because Austin Reaves was ridiculous, right? He was the most efficient shooter in the entire league last year. It was insane. I'm not expecting anybody to be that efficient, but who on the Lakers roster could kind of take that next step and on any night be the third option, or just be a consistent night in and night out, 15 to 20 point a game guy, right? Who's the guy that takes that step, right? Because even with LeBron, AD, and Austin Reaves, you're still going to need a guy or two on any given night to be another consistent guy, right? Because Austin Reaves is going to have a bad game here and there. LeBron's going to have bad games. AD is going to have bad games. You still need other guys, right? Even the Denver Nuggets, right? You had Jamal Murray, you had Jokic, you had Aaron Gordon, but you had Michael Porter Jr., who still put up 20 a night, right? They had a complete team. They had several guys, Bruce Brown on any given night, right? And even with the Lakers are so deep, so talented. You can make an argument for several guys on any given night could be that guy that goes off for 20 or 25 or something crazy like that, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more so of the consistency. And first one that comes to mind is D'Lo, right? Basically a 17, 5, and 5 guy. I think he will be really good this year in the playmaking role. I also think he's probably going to play off the ball more, because the Lakers kind of want Austin Reaves to play point guard more, and Austin Reaves even kind of talked about that. And he's done that with Team USA. He's basically played point guard his whole career. So maybe they turn D'Lo into a scorer, right? Do they look at it and go well, D'Lo's was great off the ball last year. He was 42% from 3, 50% from the field. Instead of having D'Lo be a playmaker, do they just tell D'Lo hey, we want you to be a scorer? D'Lo as a scorer is more than capable of putting up 20 to 25 a night. I mean, we've seen him just as the number one guy, as a go-to scorer, average basically 23 a game. So do the Lakers kind of go, well, we have LeBron, we have Austin Reaves, we even have Gabe Vincent, guys like that. How do we incorporate D'Lo? Well, instead of having him be a playmaker, let's have him be a scorer that can play make. You know what I mean? So he can play off the ball, and when he gets the ball, hey, be aggressive. Look for your shot. Take these guys off the dribble, right? And that would also take a lot of pressure and burden off of LeBron to have to go get, 25 to 30 a night. And you could just have D'Lo, who is still young and very efficient, very effective, and just tell him hey, dude, go get your game. Go from 17 to 20 a night. That's only a 3-point difference. That's not something that's that far-fetched. So I think D'Lo is the safe answer. I really do. I think D'Lo, I think he'll get the minutes. I think he'll He'll be a guy that has the opportunity, right? Whether he is the point guard that is kind of doing both scoring and playmaking, or they just kind of make him purely a scorer, which I don't mind. I might even just make a video about that independently at some point, because I do think that that's a good topic for discussion. But D'Lo, I think, is a safe answer. I think Rui is the most likely to like kind of come out of left field, right? Because I mean, Rui's good. Like, he's really good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think anyone would be surprised if he next season was like a 17 to 20 point a game guy. I don't. But the reason I think it's unlikely is because I don't know if he even starts, and how many minutes and how much opportunity and shot attempts does he get with Austin Reaves, with LeBron James, with D'Lo, with Anthony Davis, right? And we saw last year even the Lakers didn't really run plays or sets for him, which I don't really understand. And I was preaching this even in the playoffs last year. Like, Rui is so efficient and so effective and just money, absolutely butter in that mid-range. Like, why wouldn't you run some sets where you could just run some pick and pops and let him get to his spot? Or put him on the high post, or put him on the block and let him use his strength and his size and allow him. Like, why are we relegating this guy to just being essentially a spot-up three-point shooter when he can be so much more? He can be such a great offensive threat and such a great offensive weapon. Why wouldn't you want to put him in a position to utilize that? Is my only thing. Do the Lakers do that? Right? Because you can make an argument like they didn't do that last year because it was just kind of all thrown together, and it was like, well, let's rely on LeBron James and Anthony Davis and then allow LeBron to kind of make that decision. And then Reaves just kind of stepped up and blossomed and came out of left field. So it was like, all right, well, we got these guys. We don't really need Rui for that. Like, and then Rui was like having success in the role that he was in. So it's like, why would we change that? Get what I'm saying? Like, it's just like how much of last season with Rui Hachimura was just circumstance, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. Where this year it's like, okay, well, let's kind of put him in a more significant role, right? We're paying him. He's getting some money, right? Like, we want to make him worth the money we're paying him. This is a guy that we're paying $17 million a year. Like, let's make his production worth that dollar amount, right? I think that that's a real possibility for Rui. Another real option would be Cam Reddish, although I think Cam Reddish is like the odd man out, right? I think it's going to be him or Max Christie, and based on the reports, the Lakers are higher on Max Christie than Cam Reddish. So, you know, Cam Reddish, I think, could go either way. But I do believe Cam Reddish, if he's given the opportunity, I do think he's a guy that could go get you, 17 to 20 a night. I mean, even with like just the randomness, the inconsistency, the lack of real role, just everything that's happened with Cam Reddish, even with all that, the guy is still a basically double-digit scorer. He's still an 11-point-a-game guy, 10-point-a-game guy. I mean, even for his career, he's a 10.3 a game guy, right? So I do think, like, if you were to give him a role or opportunity, he would be one of those guys that really could thrive in that and use his size and his length and his quickness and athleticism. Like, he's got the right tools. I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity with this Lakers roster. I think maybe later on down the road, if Cam Reddish kind of sticks with the Lakers, I could see him, a couple years from now really kind of stepping up and thriving and being like a key component for the Lakers. But I don't know how much opportunity he's going to get this year to where he will have that opportunity, right? But I do think if they do, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he's one of the guys on any given night. I just don't know. Again, consistency is kind of what I'm more leaning towards, right? A guy where night in and night out, he's giving you 15 to 20, right? I don't know. I don't think Cam Reddish is going to get those shot attempts and that opportunity to do that. Although I'm all for it, especially if he can do it. But he also hasn't been very efficient, is another thing. But again, like when you don't really have a defined role, you're kind of just winging it 90% of the time. It can make it hard to be efficient. So, it's kind of one of those things that we'll leave as a question mark, right? But like I mentioned with Max Christie. Now, I'm not putting Jared Vanderbilt on this list. And the reason for that, and then we'll dive into Max Christie real quick. But the reason I'm not putting Jared Vanderbilt on that list is because, one, he just doesn't have a good enough offensive game. And even if he does become, like, let's say he's even like a 40% three-point shooter this season, I still don't think, like, his assignment is still going to be very specific. Guard the best player on the other team. I don't think he plays like 20 to 25 minutes a game. I think he's just kind of like, he's the guy that starts, guards the best player on the other team for like the first, 5-10 minutes or like the first quarter or whatever. And then he's also the guy that closes the game to guard and slow down best player if the game is tight. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think he's kind of just like a specialty player rather than like a guy that's going to get real opportunity. But Max Christie, you can make an argument outside of the center position right now. The only other position that is of need is the shooting guard. So behind Austin Reaves or maybe potentially D'Lo, Max Christie may actually get some real opportunity if he can kind of prove himself, right? And he looked great in summer league. He looked like a guy that was more than ready to break out. And he, I think, is the most closest to Austin Reaves. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think of how to phrase this. Like, like how Austin Reaves just kind of came out of left field, but like you saw the breadcrumbs for that. So it wasn't like if you were following Reaves, it wasn't like this huge shock or huge surprise. It just wasn't expected so soon. It's kind of how I feel about Max Christie, right? Like, he's a guy, like, if you've been following Max Christie, if he just all of a sudden became a 15 to 20 point a game guy, I don't think anyone would be surprised. Again, if you're following him, but it would be like, we didn't expect it that soon, right? Like, I think he has the chance to kind of follow in Austin Reaves, like year two has the real breakout. And I just think that's solely because he may end up getting the opportunity because of the two guard position. And depending on how Darvin Ham approaches that, right? Does he kind of like play D'Lo in the two guard spot? Or does he like start D'Lo at the 1, Reaves at the 2, and then kind of alternates them and then plays D'Lo at the 2 and Reaves at the 2 alongside Gabe Vincent? Because then if that's the case, then Max Christie probably doesn't play much. But if Max Christie can really prove himself in training camp, we already know he has the defense. And if he could just be a scorer, then I think he may have the opportunity. I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't. I'm really high on Max Christie. And maybe it's just like optimism, but I said a lot of the same stuff about Austin Reaves, and look what happened. So, I don't know. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Who do you think ends up being kind of like that consistent fourth option or third option on any given night? Like, who's the guy that you expect to break out the most? Like I said, I think D'Lo is the safest bet, but is there anybody else that, or at least somebody you'd like to see, right? Like, who's the guy you'd like to see do that? Again, love to hear it. Let me know.